All right, folks, welcome back to the final round of our game today. We have two contestants left. We have twin brothers, Jameson and Joseph Johnson, and they're vying for a 12-pack of Cokes and $20. We're going to see who's going to win with the final question right now.
I'm going to beat you.
Gentlemen, for your final question, what year was the disc brake system available on cars for the first time?
You go first.
So, and just like that, 98,000 people are Googling when was the first disc brake system used.
Wish it was that many people, but it's not. The first disc brake system available on a passenger car. When was it introduced? What year?
I feel like it's going to be on the first car made because like they have to stop somehow. Right? No, wait, no. Those are just regular. I'm just going to say
1946, that's what I'm saying.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer, 1946.
Shoot, 1944.
I'm sorry, both of you are wrong. It was actually 1902 by the Lanchester Company in Britain. So, nobody wins except me, because I get to keep the $20 and the folks. So, game show.
Yeah, game show. Answer was not right. Neither was mine though. So
Yeah, you were wrong too. I was actually wrong when I guessed it, because I got to a point with these where I started doing that. And well, anyway. So what I wanted to talk about today is something I started screwing around with the other day just because I'm a history nut. And I started looking up things, trying to figure out, I wonder when the first use of this item was, or I wonder when this was invented. Because there's a lot of conveniences that we have on modern cars that we don't even think about. Disc brakes, air conditioning, you know.
power locks,
Power windows. I didn't even go into power locks, but yeah, power
They're
locks.
standard now.
Right, so I picked five. I picked five that I went through. And so what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a little game with you off of what I learned from the five I looked up, which is six with the ones that the kids already did. So, first one. Do you know that there were auto-dimming headlights?
I did not.
Oddly enough, it's something that has not taken off in the recent years. You would think that with the technology we have available to us today, that auto-dimming headlights would be a thing. I mean, we got cars that can run down the interstate without anybody driving them.
Yeah.
But do we have auto-dimming headlights on those cars?
No, not really.
No, we don't. Now, they've changed the headlights with the HEDs, HIDs.
Yeah, I know there's ones that can
PDQs.
like direct themselves and stuff.
And they actually
Like
we have a
self-aim.
2013 Focus, and the headlights actually break off right below windshield level in there.
Just imagine your car going cross-eyed.
I can't even do my eyes that way. If I could, that would be weird. Anyway, so auto-dimming headlights. When do you think that they were first introduced?
Say about 1952 maybe? Sounds like a Cadillac option. Fancy.
Yes,
Yes.
you're right.
I'm good at this.
Fine. Fine. Okay, you got that one right.
Try me again.
All right, how about intermittent wipers? Okay, we all have intermittent wipers on cars now. It's a standard feature. Anything you buy has intermittent wipers, and it wasn't that way all along. I mean, up into probably the late 70s, maybe the early 80s, probably the middle 80s.
I was going to say Ford started rolling them around in the 70s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
That's when they started becoming standard.
Actually, the start date is a different date, so you may get this one wrong.
Okay. I'm just going to take a wild guess at this one. Are we talking like automotive in general?
Automotive in general, when were they done?
1952.
No! 1969, Ford introduced intermittent wipers.
Okay.
They were designed, however, by an engineer by the name of Robert Kerns. He introduced them in 1964. He invented them in 1964, took them around to all the manufacturers. Ford said, we're not interested.
That cost too much.
But can we hold on to it for a couple of days just to look at it to make sure we're not interested? In that time frame, The engineers backward engineered it, and suddenly in 1969, Ford came out with intermittent wipers that were electrically operated. Weirdly, in 1968 or 69, Mercury actually had a vacuum-operated windshield interval system.
That sounds overly complicated.
I actually know this because I took one out of a 1968 or 9 Mercury Cyclone. I'm thinking, ooh, because I turned the knob, and on the old Ford stuff, if you take the knob and you turn it away from you, that's the intermittent system. If you turn it to the right, it is the standard wiper system. So I turned it, and the knob went, and I was like, yes! So I reached back there, I took everything apart, used my tools, got it all out of there, and pulled it down, and there's vacuum hoses coming off of it, like 4 of them.
Just imagine what would happen if you put a cam in a rainstorm. Starts chopping with the eye.
Okay, so yes, there's a movie about that called Flash of Genius. If you want to watch it, there's a movie. I'll put the title down here below me. It's called Flash of Genius. It's about Robert Kerns and the absolute epic battle and fight he went through to get the big 3 to acknowledge that he had in fact come up with the idea for the intermittent wipers.
That's about right.
I mean, I'd like to shine a better light on this,
Yeah.
but how? Because, I mean, it was an epic battle, and it took him until the middle to late 70s, I believe, to actually get the patent and have the manufacturers pay him a paltry sum for what he did.
Oh, I'm willing to bet that payout was good. So copy
No, it
my
wasn't.
homework.
That's the sad thing about it. It was for what he went through. I think
Yeah,
it
true.
basically just covered his lawyer's fees.
It broke even.
And in the movie, I don't know if this is really true for what happened to Robert in real life, but in the movie, his son is basically telling him, just quit.
Yeah.
You're losing money doing this. He says, it's about principle. That's one of the reasons I like this. He said, this is more about principle than it is about the money.
Yep.
And so he finally won. Another thing that we have in modern cars is pretty much across the board, unless you're buying like some kind of, Asian rim car that's so basic.
$2,000 that you buy on Amazon gets shipped to your house in 47 packages.
You put it together like an IKEA car. Okay, so cruise control. Cruise control.
Cruise control. I'm thinking 1900.
You
Thinking of like
are such a wiener.
thinking like a horse whip with a carrot.
No, actually, you are kind of right. 1900, Peerless had a speed control that was engine governed, and what it was, they had a lever on the column that you could pull down. I think it was on the column that you could pull down and set a speed by engine speed.
Okay, yeah.
So you're going down the road and you set it in there, and it's kind of like on a tractor how you've got the same thing.
Yeah, you set RPM.
Yeah, you set the RPM and it'll run at that RPM until...
Imagining one of those old set engines that have like the spinning balls that are the governor, and that's how you set it.
Do you know the term, everybody says balls
balls
to the
out.
wall?
Yeah,
it's actually balls out.
Yeah, because
That
that
means
means
you're
max
running
speed. Yeah.
in one of those things at max speed. It's just terrifying. In 1948, Ralph Teetor came up with cruise control as we know it today, which is an electronic cruise control, is vacuum operated, also speed sensitive by a magnet on the drive shaft.
That loves to get slung off, and then
Right,
you don't
and then you don't have cruise control. And that was 1948. So a lot of the cars you started seeing it in the 1950s.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the first manufacturer was. If you know who the first manufacturer was to do cruise control, leave a comment in the section below. I just went off of who the inventor was on that one. I don't know why. Probably because I was somewhat asleep when I was doing this. Second to the last is power windows.
Ooh, I know that one was.
Come on, get it wrong.
I'm probably going to. I know. Because I'm not looking down this time. Power windows, 1935.
No, actually, it was 1941, and it was Packard.
I will take it as a loss, but I was still closer than I thought.
You're in the neighborhood. You weren't in the house.
I was thinking the size of the electric motor back in that time would have had.
Okay, that's a good point to go to. So, 6-volt systems on
Yeah.
almost everything back then, right?
Huge amp draw. That's 6
Okay,
volt.
huge amp draws, 6 volts.
Yeah.
They didn't do it with the electrical system.
Vacuum.
It was hydraulic.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that because 18-wheelers had air-operated windows.
Right.
Back in like the 30s, 40s.
Right.
It was 90 psi. If your regulator got shut. Last time you ever closed that window.
Now you have 260 air. Congratulations. So yes, it was all hydraulically operated. Packard was the first. Cadillac and Lincoln came along shortly after. And you'll notice that most all of these options, back when they first came out, they're not down in the lower ranked cars. They're
Yeah,
not
it's
down
all-
in the Ford,
Yeah.
the base Fords and the base Chevrolets.
Fancy
They're in the
stuff.
fancy stuff, and then they move their way down. Same thing with our last one that we're going to talk about today, and that is air conditioning.
Okay.
I kind of gave you a hint already, but that's okay.
Yeah. Although I did forget. I know in 1950s they had it pretty commonplace. 1945.
Actually, it was 1940, and it was done by Packard, and it was created by Ralph Teetor in 1937. The system was created. You were already starting to see AC systems in buildings and things like that, and what he managed to figure out how to do is to just squish
Small
everything
it,
down
yeah.
into a smaller package and put it in
Small
a car. Just small it. He made it small it.
Pretty sure the word I was going for is shrink it.
We have created more words on this show. I get people writing in all the time. The other day I did one of the episodes and I actually made up my own word and I put a definition for it. So now it should be ending up in the Webster's anytime soon. The nice thing is you don't have to worry about it coming out in the printed edition. You just wait for it to come out on the
it's
online
PDF.
edition. Yeah, PDF file. So that's really it, folks. I know this is a really short little episode. I mean, it may be long in time, but it was actually short for us to shoot. And there's a reason for that is that this week we are in the final throes of getting everything ready for our event on April 23rd, 2022. I have to do that because people will be watching this down the road. So our open house is on April 23rd, 2022, and we are literally 7 days away from when the event is going to be happening, and we are not done putting the studio together even yet. I have a feeling we'll be pretty close. Jackson, my stepson, is Picassoing his way through painting the walls in here, getting them a nice flat gray color that we picked on purpose. We're also going to have a green screen area in here. This is basically going to literally be a studio space. It is not going to be just a shop. Most of our shop work is going to be done in the other building. If you're coming out on the 23rd, I'll explain all that to you in the rampant tours that we will be doing through both spaces if it's not raining. If it is raining, we'll be running between buildings. We really hope it isn't raining. To our patrons that are coming out, thank you for coming out. I know some of you guys want to come out and you can't, and so what we're going to do for you guys is we're actually going to be doing a live Patreon meeting with the folks that are here, myself, and you guys that are out there on Patreon. And we'll be able to just sit down and have a chit chat and talk about things. Speaking of Patreon, do us a favor and join up our Patreon group. I have a list going up either here or here. I don't know. Andrew's not here, so he's not going to tell me where to put the list, but somewhere around here. There's a list of folks going up. These are the people who put their money where their mouth is. They support the show on a weekly level, on a monthly level actually, but it's what pays Andrew and also what helps us to help the young people that come in here to operate cameras. We are working toward trying to have a studio system so that we can bring young people in from high schools all the way down into junior high and have them learn how to operate cameras as a living. There's actually money to be made doing what we do here. And so we train kids to how to run cameras and in the use of some of the film gear that's out there, microphones, headsets, all that kind of stuff, monitoring audio, everything we do it around here with these kids goes toward feeding them and giving them a little bit of money to come in here and actually do this at a certain level. And then also we're working toward our subscription thing. We're trying to get all the way up to 100,000 subscribers. We are danger close on 90,000 right now. And so what we want to do is to just kind of tell people that you know, if you really like the channel, talk to folks. The best way we can grow this thing into 100,000 subscribers is for you guys to go out and start talking to folks about what we do around here. Finally, I'd like for you to go out and like each other, love each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Autorestomod. So you were looking at my cheat sheet.
No.
Obviously not, because you missed it.
No. Absolutely not. I would never do such a
You
thing.
need to get your eyes checked. Because it's right there, and you still got them wrong.
A couple, yeah. I just didn't care enough. You got to get a couple wrong when you cheat, so that you don't get suspected of cheating.
I
That's the
really don't
secret
want to
to
know
cheating.
how you know that. And I really wish the teenagers that were in here didn't hear you say that.
Yeah, see, I'm a horrible, horrible stepbrother. Whatever I am to them.
Brother. Because, you know,
I'm the bad influence.
you could be the bad uncle.
You don't want to do some drugs?
Deanna, I'm sorry. I'm the one that brought him in.
She knows me.
She did right cross you one day. So. Mean right cross that little 5 foot woman in there.
She got all the power from down low.
Have a great week.